Caitlin Clark is in the midst of March Madness, trying to redeem last year's season-ending loss to LSU in the championship game. She once again has captivated audiences and continues to lead her team, hoping to capture that elusive championship trophy that slipped away out of her grasp last year. She has the eyes of the nation on her and is adorned by many young girls who look up to her like she is larger than life. She has boosted ratings for women's basketball and is, by far, the biggest draw in college basketball, both women's and men's games. Never before has a woman immersed the nation like Caitlin Clark has. She is larger than life. This would be enough pressure to crush most 22-year-olds, but there's something bigger to think about. A lot bigger. In the realm of $5 million bigger. News just leaked that Caitlin Clark has been offered $5 million to play just 10 games this upcoming season in the Big 3 League, which was founded by hip-hop star Ice Cube. This isn't some league filled with your local YMCA standout who thinks he was robbed of one of his shots at the NBA by some lame excuse. This is a league consisting of former NBA and international players. Oh, and by the way, they are all men. Some recognizable names in the league have been Joe Johnson, Rashard Lewis, and Stephen Jackson. It's a 3-on-3 tournament-style league between 12 teams that looks a little bit more like street ball than your typical NBA game. It's only been around since 2017, but it has already drawn a faithful audience and is broadcast on major TV networks. So, $5 million for only playing 10 games? So what's the dilemma? That seems like a no-brainer. Who wouldn't take a paycheck of $500,000 a game? Well, it's not that simple. The season runs at a similar time as the WNBA, and currently, Clark would not be allowed to play in both. So, unless the WNBA rules change, Clark would have to make a choice. Move on to the next traditional step for any college standout to the WNBA, or take a leap of faith and play in the Big 3 League against men. Some of you out there right now might be asking just who is this Caitlin Clark girl and what makes her so special that someone would offer her $5 million? Well, my response to those of you who have had your head stuck in the sand for the past few years is she is the Division I all-time leading scorer and the third all-time in assists. She leads the nation this year in both scoring and assists, in a feat that makes her not only the top scoring option in the country, but also having the best court vision in the country. This is a combination of Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Well, that might be an exaggeration, but I'm sure you've heard of Steph Curry, right? She is the women's version of Curry, and that is not an exaggeration. She is known for her logo threes and unlimited range on the court. She is deadly once she passes half court and is ushering in a new era of women's basketball. Never before have we seen a woman with this kind of range, and if you were looking at her and Curry side by side, they almost look like twins, besides the obvious differences of male and female. So, what would keep Clark from banking the huge payday offered by the Big 3 League? What could go wrong? Well, to start, Clark is only a 6-foot, 155-pound young woman and would be playing against grown men that would typically have an at least 6-inch height advantage and outweigh her by 70 to 100 pounds. There is a reason there is a division between men's and women's sports, a very physiological reason. We've seen this in the past when women have been matched up against men and, well, to be honest, they haven't fared too well in those circumstances. You typically don't even need the top men in the world to completely obliterate the women. It's usually been high-ranking high school kids that can compete with the world's best women. That isn't to say that the woman's skill level isn't incredible, it's just biology. Men on average are much taller and stronger and can jump higher than a woman. So, if Caitlin decides to give the Big 3 a shot, she could come up empty, very empty, by not being able to compete against the bigger men and riding the bench most of the game. What would this do for her future if she loses that all-important star status she now decidedly has and fades away into obscurity? Would she then be able to come back and take a try at the WNBA? No doubt that she would still be a hot commodity for WNBA teams following a failure in the Big 3 League, but that would hurt her future earnings potentially by removing her from the public eye and thus reducing her marketing power. So, if that's a possibility, why wouldn't she just go play in the WNBA and earn big bucks there? Well, the top women in the WNBA get paid about $250,000 a year, a far cry from $5 million. In fact, the $5 million Big Three offer for 1 year would probably be more than she would ever make in the WNBA for her entire career. It would take her over 20 years at the current WNBA max salary to win $5 million. And as a rookie, she would not be making the WNBA max and would start her career at a much lower salary. Well, if she's worth so much to the Big Three, why is she not as valuable to the WNBA? For starters, the WNBA doesn't typically turn a profit, meaning as a business, they pay more money out than they take in. As it was reported in 2018, the league never turned a profit in any year in its existence at the time. The only reason the WNBA has been able to survive since its inception in 1997 is that it has been subsidized by the NBA. The WNBA has seen some incredible growth in the past 5 years, going from around $60 million in revenue in 2019 to around $200 million last season. But if you compare this to the NBA, which generated over $10 billion, it still pales in comparison. That's the reason the NBA's highest paid player, Steph Curry, at over $50 million per year, dwarfs the top paid WNBA players. So what can help close the gap to higher pay for WNBA players? More revenue, and that means more viewers, and that means more exposure. It's perfect timing as the current WNBA broadcast right is set to expire soon, so the next contract will directly affect how much WNBA players get paid. Enter Caitlin Clark, a marketing director's dream, as she has single-handedly risen women's college basketball viewership to an unprecedented heights in the past few years. And she can do it again for the WNBA. Her latest Iowa game was the most watched women's basketball game of all time. It also had more viewers than every regular season college football game last year, every Major League Baseball, and every NBA game except Game 5 of the finals. But all her publicity and gawking fanbase is undoubtedly making current WNBA stars chomping at the bit to get their shot at shutting down this rising star. They are sick and tired of hearing Caitlin Clark being synonymous with top-level women's basketball and are ready to put her in the place as a rookie when she enters the WNBA. Could they ostracize her to prove their point? Will she not be welcomed in as her future teammates will have to endure countless Caitlin Clark media questions and an array of Clark signs in the stands? I would imagine that any team Clark signs with the WNBA, that her jersey and fame will automatically be front and center, far above all her teammates that have already proven WNBA players. And for a lot of women, that won't be fair, and they may take it personally. But in doing so, they may kill the golden goose, as Clark just might be exactly what they need in order to secure a much higher paycheck. So, in the end, will WNBA players be able to swallow up their pride and get Clark on the bandwagon? Or will it just be too much to stomach for them? Or will Caitlin Clark just decide to take her talents elsewhere? I can give you 5 million reasons why that just might be the case. As always, thank you for watching, and I'd appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button.